Hannah Kim walked through the halls of New Seoul Academy with her eyes down. The 16-year-old human girl tried to make herself smaller, hoping no one would notice her. It never worked. "Look who it is," a voice called out. "The fragile human who needs to breathe oxygen." Hannah didn't look up. She knew it was Doka. His scaled blue skin and yellow eyes made him popular among the alien students. His telepathic powers made him feared. "How do humans even get accepted here?" asked Lumi, floating beside Doka. Her skin glowed with soft white light, the mark of a celestial. "Their brains are so basic." Laughter filled the hall. Hannah clutched her books tighter and walked faster. 3 more halls to her classroom. She could make it. At least scan her thoughts. "Doka," someone said. "See if she's thinking about those weird human foods again." Doka smiled, showing his pointed teeth. "I would, but human thoughts are boring. All about survival and feelings." Hannah felt the familiar pressure in her head that meant Doka was trying to read her mind. Then something strange happened. A sharp pain shot through her temples. Images flashed in her mind. A massive spaceship. Explosions. People running. Someone shouting orders. Her orders. "Ow!" Doka jumped back, holding his head. What was that? Hannah was just as surprised. No one had ever reacted that way to Doka's mind-reading before. "What did you do?" Lumi demanded, her glow pulsing with anger. "Nothing," Hannah said. "I don't know what happened." "Stay away from us, human," Doka hissed. "Something's wrong with you." They moved away, still watching her with suspicion. Hannah hurried to her classroom, confused by what had just happened. Inside, she slipped into her seat at the back. Most of the seats around her were empty. No one wanted to sit near the human. "Hey," a quiet voice said. Todd took the seat next to her. He was the only other human in her grade, and the only person who talked to her. "Bad morning already." "Doka and his friends," Hannah explained. "But something weird happened. Doka tried to read my mind and got hurt somehow." Tae's eyes widened. "Seriously, no one blocks Doka." "I didn't do anything on purpose," Hannah said. "But I saw strange images in my head, like memories, but not mine. I was on a spaceship, and there was a battle." "Daydreaming again, Ms. Kim." The teacher, Mr. Yun, stood at the front of the room. Though human himself, he showed no kindness to Hannah. "Perhaps you'd like to share your thoughts with the class." The alien students turned to look at her, some smirking, others simply curious about what the strange human would say. "No, sir. Sorry," Hannah said. "Today we begin our unit on the Great Galactic War," Mr. Yun announced. 50 years ago, the Vordax Empire controlled 3/4 of the known galaxy. Their technology was superior, their armies unstoppable. Hannah felt another headache starting. She rubbed her temples. "Until a human resistance formed," Mr. Yun continued, "led by the mysterious Commander G, who developed battle strategies that confused and defeated the Vordax forces." The pain in Hannah's head grew stronger. The classroom seemed to fade around her. She could almost hear explosions, feel the rumble of a ship beneath her feet. "Ms. Kim, are you paying attention?" Mr. Yun's voice broke through. "Yes, sir," Hannah said, the visions fading. "Commander G defeated the Vordax. And can you tell us what happened to Commander G after the war?" Mr. Yun asked, clearly trying to embarrass her. But somehow, Hannah knew the answer. "She disappeared. Some say she died from battle wounds. Others believe she's still alive, hiding." Mr. Yun looked surprised. "That's correct." After class, Todd pulled her aside. "How did you know that? We haven't covered it yet." Hannah shook her head. "I don't know. It just came to me, like I'd known it all along." "That's weird," Todd said. "Almost as weird as hurting Doka with your thoughts." "Something's happening to me," Hannah whispered, "and I'm scared to find out what it is." The next day, Mr. Yun set up the classroom projector. "Today, we will watch rare footage of the final battles against the Vordax Empire," he announced. Hannah sat up straight. Her headache from yesterday was gone, but she felt strange, like she was waiting for something important to happen. This footage was classified for many years, Mr. Yun explained. It shows Commander G leading the attack on the Vordax command ship. The lights dimmed. The wall lit up with images of space battles. Massive ships fired at each other. Smaller fighters zipped between them. Hannah felt her heart beat faster, as if she was there. Then the scene changed. Inside a ship, a group of soldiers gathered around a map table. A tall figure stood at the head, pointing to different areas. The camera moved closer. "This is the only known clear image of Commander G," Mr. Yun said. The figure turned toward the camera. It was a woman with short, dark hair and intense eyes. She wore a simple uniform with 3 stars on the collar. Pain exploded in Hannah's head. The classroom spun around her. Voices filled her mind. Urgent, desperate voices calling for orders, reporting damage, crying for help. And her own voice, calm but firm, giving commands that would save thousands of lives. "Hold the line at Sector 7. Redirect shields to the forward section. Prepare jump drives. Hannah. Hannah." Teh's voice seemed far away. Hannah slid from her chair onto the floor. The last thing she saw before everything went black was the face of Commander G looking directly at her, as if across time itself. "She's waking up." Hannah opened her eyes slowly. A bright light made her blink. She was lying on a bed in the school medical bay. Teh sat beside her, looking worried. At the foot of the bed stood a woman in a white coat. "Dr. Suk, the school doctor." "How do you feel?" Dr. Suk asked, watching Hannah closely. "My head hurts," Hannah said. "What happened?" "You fainted during the history video," Teh explained. "You were talking in your sleep, saying strange things about battle formations and shield generators." Dr. Suk moved closer. "You gave us quite a scare, Hannah. Have you been eating properly? Getting enough sleep?" Hannah nodded. "Yes, but I've been having strange dreams lately. And when I saw that video of Commander G..." Dr. Suk's expression changed slightly. "What about Commander G?" "I felt like I knew her," Hannah said. "Like I'd seen her before, but not in a picture or video." Dr. Suk and Todd exchanged a quick look that Hannah didn't miss. "What?" Hannah asked. "What aren't you telling me?" "It's nothing," Dr. Suk said too quickly. "You should rest. I'll write a note excusing you from your next class." The doctor walked to her office, closing the door behind her. Through the window, Hannah could see her making a call, speaking urgently into the screen. "Ta," Hannah whispered. "Do you know something about this?" Ta looked uncomfortable. "My parents work in the government archives," he said quietly. "They deal with classified history files. I've heard them talking about Commander G sometimes. They say there are secrets about her that most people don't know." "What kind of secrets?" "I don't know exactly. But," he hesitated, "when you fainted and were talking in your sleep, you said some things that sounded like military codes. Old ones from the war." "How do you know they were military codes?" "Because I've seen some of my parents' files. Those codes weren't supposed to be known by anyone except high-ranking officers during the war." Inside Dr. Suk's office, the doctor was speaking intensely to someone on the screen. Hannah couldn't hear the words, but she could see Dr. Suk glance at her several times. "I think I need to find out more about Commander G," Hannah said. "Why?" Tai asked. Hannah looked at the wall, where a small mirror hung. For a second, her reflection seemed to change. Older, harder, the face of someone who had seen terrible things and made difficult choices. "Because I think she's trying to tell me something," Hannah whispered. "Something important. Something about who I really am." The next day after school, Tai led Hannah to a small park near the edge of the school grounds. Few students came here, making it safe to talk. "I searched through my parents' tablet last night," Ta said, looking around to make sure no one was listening. "I found something about Commander G that seems important." He pulled out his own tablet and showed Hannah a document. Most of it was blacked out, but some words were still visible. Project Rebirth, consciousness transfer, and memory suppression. What does this mean? Hannah asked, trying to make sense of the fragments. I'm not sure, Tay admitted. But look at this part. He pointed to a section at the bottom of the document. It mentions genetic markers and says they match the candidate perfectly. The date on this file is only 16 years ago. Hannah felt a chill. 16 years ago. That's when I was born. There's more, Ta said. Commander G disappeared after the final battle. The official story says she died from wounds, but some reports suggest she was badly injured, but still alive when they brought her back to Earth. You think there's a connection between me and Commander G? Hannah asked. The idea seemed impossible, yet something inside her responded to it, like a distant memory trying to surface. I don't know, Ta said, but you know things you shouldn't know. You hurt Doka when he tried to read your mind. And you look. He stopped. I look what? You look like her, Ta said quietly. I found an old picture of G when she was young, before the war. The resemblance is strong. Hannah took a deep breath. Show me. Ta pulled up an image on his tablet. It showed a young woman in a military academy uniform, perhaps 20 years old. Her face was serious, her posture perfect, and she looked remarkably like Hannah. This could be a coincidence, Hannah said, but her voice shook. Or maybe I'm related to her somehow. Maybe, Tai agreed. But that doesn't explain how you know things only she would know. Meanwhile, in a secure room beneath the school, Dr. Suk sat across from an older man in a military uniform. His name tag read General Park. Are you certain? The general asked. Yes, Dr. Suk replied. Her brain patterns matched the stored template exactly. And she responded to the footage just as the protocol predicted. It's happening, sir. She's remembering. General Park stood up and walked to a window overlooking a laboratory. Inside, scientists worked around a large tank filled with blue liquid. After 50 years, he said softly, Commander Jai is coming back to us. What should we do? Dr. Suk asked. The original plan was to wait until she was 18 before triggering full memory restoration. Plans change, General Park said. We're receiving reports that Vordak scout ships have been spotted at the edge of our system. They're searching for something. He turned to face Dr. Suk, or someone. They can't possibly know she's alive, Dr. Suk argued. Perhaps not, General Park agreed. But they've never stopped looking for her DNA. Her genetic code contains something they fear, something they want to destroy. We need to accelerate protocol rebirth. But she's just a girl, Dr. Suk protested. She has a life. Friends. General Park laughed bitterly. Friends? From what you've told me, she's an outcast. Those alien children mock her daily, unaware they're insulting the woman who saved their ancestors from slavery. Even so, Dr. Suk insisted, we promised to give her a normal childhood. Normal ended the moment she started remembering, General Park said. Monitor her closely. If the memories continue to surface naturally, let them. But be ready to bring her in at the first sign of trouble. Dr. Suk nodded reluctantly. And if the Vordaks really have returned? General Park's face hardened. Then we'll need Commander G more than ever. The girl will have to become the soldier once again, whether she wants to or not. Monday morning brought a surprise to Hannah's classroom. Mr. Yun introduced a new student. Class, this is Jun. He has transferred from the Eastern District Academy. Please make him feel welcome. Hannah looked up from her desk. Jun was human, tall with broad shoulders. He stood straight, almost like a soldier. When Mr. Yun asked him to take a seat, he walked directly to the empty desk next to Hannah. Hi, he said with a small smile. Mind if I sit here? Before Hannah could answer, Doka called out from across the room. Bad choice, new boy. That's the human section. Sit with us if you want real friends. June turned to Doko with a calm expression. I prefer to choose my own friends, thanks. He sat down next to Hannah. "I'm June," he said again. "Hannah," she replied, surprised. No one except Ty had ever chosen to sit near her. Throughout the class, Hannah noticed June watching her. Not in the rude way some students stared at her, but with careful attention, as if studying her. It made her nervous. During lunch, Todd joined Hannah at their usual empty table. "Have you heard about the new guy?" he asked. "June? He sat next to me in class," Hannah said. "That's not all," Ta whispered. "I checked the school record system. His transfer files are locked with military security codes." "Military?" Hannah frowned. "Why would a student have military records?" "Exactly," Ta said. "Something's not right about him." Just then, June appeared with his lunch tray. "Mind if I join you?" Ty and Hannah exchanged looks. "Sure," Hannah said cautiously. June sat down. For a few minutes, they ate in silence. Then June spoke. "So, Hannah, I heard you're interested in the Great Galactic War." Hannah nearly choked on her food. "Who told you that?" June shrugged. "People talk. I'm interested in it too. Especially Commander G." The familiar pain started in Hannah's head. Images flashed. A battle map, ships moving in formation, her hand pointing to targets. "Are you okay?" June asked, watching her closely. "Headache," Hannah said. "It happens sometimes." "When you think about the war?" June asked. Before Hannah could answer, Doka and his friends surrounded their table. "The human collection grows," Doka sneered. 3 weak species members all together. "We're eating lunch," Ta said. "Leave us alone." "Or what?" Lumi floated closer, her light pulsing with amusement. "Will you cry to the teachers?" Doka reached over and knocked Hannah's tray to the floor. "Oops, so clumsy, these humans." June stood up slowly. "You should apologize," he said quietly. The cafeteria grew silent. No one challenged Doka's group. "What did you say?" Doka's scales darkened with anger. "Apologize to Hannah," June repeated. His voice remained calm, but something in his stance changed. He suddenly looked dangerous. Doka laughed and reached out to push June. What happened next was too fast to follow. June moved like water, stepping aside and redirecting Doka's momentum. The alien boy stumbled forward, off balance. Before he could recover, June had him pinned against the table with one hand. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" Doka gasped. "Apologize," June said again. "Sorry," Doka mumbled. When June released him, Doka and his friends quickly left. The cafeteria burst into whispers. No one had ever stood up to Doka before. "That was amazing," Ta said. "Where did you learn to move like that?" "Basic self-defense," Jum said, sitting back down as if nothing unusual had happened. Later that day, Hannah stayed after school to work on a project. Walking down the empty hallway, she saw June slipping into Dr. Sook's office. Curious, she moved closer to the door. "Is she remembering more?" she heard June ask. "Yes," Dr. Sook's voice replied. "Faster than we expected." "Does the general know?" "He sent me to protect her," June said. "The Vordak scouts have moved closer." Hannah gasped. June immediately went silent. Then the door opened, and he stood there, looking at her with a mixture of surprise and resignation. "I think," he said finally, "we need to talk." June led Hannah to an empty classroom and closed the door. "How much did you hear?" he asked. "Enough," Hannah said. "You're not really a student. You were sent to protect me." "But why? What are Vordak scouts, and what am I remembering?" June sighed. "I can't tell you everything. Not yet. But yes, I was sent to keep you safe." "From what?" Hannah demanded. "From those who would hurt you if they knew who you really are." "And who am I really?" Hannah asked, her heart racing. June looked at her for a long moment. "I think you already know. The headaches, the flashes of memory, the knowledge you shouldn't have. They're all clues. You want me to believe I'm somehow connected to Commander G." Hannah said. But that's impossible. She lived 50 years ago. Is it impossible? Joan asked quietly. You saw her face. You feel her memories. Deep down, you know the truth. Before Hannah could respond, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Ty. School trip tomorrow to Galactic Memorial. Meet me early at the entrance. Found something important. The next morning, the students gathered for the trip to the Galactic Memorial, a massive museum dedicated to the Great Galactic War. Ty found Hannah in the crowd. I couldn't sleep last night, he whispered. I kept thinking about what you told me, June said. So I broke into my parents' secure files. You did what? Hannah gasped. I had to know, Ta said. And I found something called Project Rebirth. It's about saving consciousness and memories from one body and transferring them to a new one. That's not possible, Hannah said. It wasn't, Tai agreed. Until the end of the war. The Vordaks were developing the technology to make their leaders immortal. When we defeated them, we captured their research. Their conversation was cut short as the teachers divided students into groups. Hannah found herself with Doka, Lumi, and several other alien students. June was nowhere to be seen. Inside the memorial, Hannah's group moved through exhibits showing battle scenes and war heroes. With each step deeper into the museum, Hannah's headaches grew worse. The memories came stronger now. Battle plans, speeches to troops, the weight of command. When the guide led them to the Battle of Proxima exhibit, Hannah stopped, staring at the display. It showed ships arranged in a specific pattern. They're wrong, she said without thinking. What was that? The guide asked. The ships, Hannah said, pointing. They weren't arranged like that. The cruisers were here, and the destroyers formed a screen here. She moved the holographic ships into new positions. The guide looked stunned. That's actually correct. But those details were never made public. How did you know? Before Hannah could answer, a powerful memory hit her. She knew this building. Not as a museum, but as a military headquarters, and there was a hidden level below, accessible only to high command. Without thinking, Hannah broke away from the group. Her feet carried her down hallways, through doors, as if she had walked this path 1,000 times before. She heard voices calling after her, but she didn't stop. She reached a wall that looked solid. Her fingers found a hidden panel and typed in a code she shouldn't know. The wall slid open, revealing a private elevator. Hannah stepped inside. It descended deep below the museum. When the doors opened, she found herself in a dimly lit hall. At the end stood a single statue, spotlit from above. Hannah walked forward slowly. The statue showed a woman in full military dress, her face proud and determined. It was Commander G, but it was also Hannah's face, just older and harder. At the base of the statue, a small plaque read, Commander G, Savior of Humanity and Architect of Peace. May she return when we need her most. She already has, said a voice behind her. Hannah turned to see June standing in the elevator doorway. You are Commander Jai, and it's time you learned the whole truth. June led Hannah to a small room behind the statue. Inside, General Park and Dr. Sook waited. You found us sooner than expected, General Park said. Your memories are returning faster than we planned. Tell me everything, Hannah demanded. No more secrets. Dr. Sook nodded to General Park, who pressed a button on the wall. A screen lit up, showing an old video. It showed a woman, Commander G, lying on a medical bed, badly wounded. This is from 50 years ago, General Park explained. The final battle against the Vordax Empire. We won, but Commander G was hurt too badly to survive. In the video, doctors worked frantically around G's bed. One turned to the camera and shook his head. We couldn't save her body, Dr. Sook said, but we could save her mind. The video changed to show a strange machine connected to G's head. Then it showed a small container filled with glowing blue liquid. Her consciousness, her memories, everything that made her who she was. We saved it all, General Park continued. The plan was to put her mind in a new body when the technology was ready. But that took 50 years, Joan added. 50 years, Hannah whispered. Then how? 16 years ago, we finally succeeded, Dr. Suk said gently. We created a new body, a baby with G's exact DNA. Then we transferred her stored consciousness. That baby was you, Hannah. No, Hannah shook her head. That's impossible. I have parents. I have memories of growing up. Your parents work for us, General Park said. They agreed to raise you. As for your childhood memories, we gave those to you. Artificial memories to let you grow up normally. Why? Hannah asked, tears in her eyes. Why not just let Commander G stay dead? Because we knew the Vordax would return someday, Jun said, and we would need G again. The Vordax were defeated but not destroyed, General Park explained. Some escaped to deep space. They'd been rebuilding, planning revenge. And they fear one thing above all else. Commander G. We gave you a new life, a childhood G never had, Dr. Suk said. We planned to wait until you were 18 to tell you the truth. Then we would offer you a choice, to fully restore G's memories, or to stay as Hannah. But now the Vordax have returned sooner than expected, General Park said. They're searching for you. For me? Hannah asked. Or for Commander G? Both, Jun replied. Your DNA contains something unique, something that allowed G to resist Vordax mind control technology. That's why you hurt Doka when he tried to read your mind. Your brain is naturally shielded. The Vordax want to study your DNA, Dr. Suk explained, to find a way around this resistance. If they succeed, they could control minds across the galaxy. Hannah sat down heavily. So I'm not really me. I'm just a copy of someone else. No, Dr. Suk said firmly. You are Hannah. You've lived your own life, made your own choices. G's memories are returning, but that doesn't erase who you've become. You're both, Jun said. The courage of Commander G and the resilience of Hannah Kim. The girl who faces ridicule every day but never breaks. General Park looked at a screen showing security footage. We don't have much time. Your classmates are looking for you. They reported you missing. What happens now? Hannah asked. You go back to your normal life, Dr. Suk said. June will stay close to protect you. We'll monitor your returning memories. And when the Vordax come? Hannah asked. General Park's face grew serious. When they come, you'll have to decide, to remain just Hannah or to fully become G again to help us fight. Can I tell anyone about this? Hannah asked, thinking of Ta. No one, June insisted. It would put them in danger. As they prepared to leave, Hannah looked once more at the statue of Commander G. Of herself. My whole life has been a lie, she whispered. Not a lie, Dr. Suk corrected gently. A gift. A chance for a great hero to know peace before being called to war again. Hannah returned to school the next day, her mind spinning with everything she had learned. She was not just Hannah Kim. She was Commander G, hero of the Great Galactic War, reborn in a new body. In the hallway, Doka and his friends stopped their usual teasing when they saw her. Something had changed in how she carried herself. She walked taller now, her eyes forward, unafraid. What happened to you at the museum yesterday? Ta asked when she sat beside him in class. You disappeared. I got lost, Hannah lied, hating that she couldn't tell her only friend the truth. Jun sat on her other side, always watching, always alert. Now Hannah understood why. The morning passed normally until lunch period. Hannah was eating with Tai and Jun when a loud alarm blared through the school. Warning. Security breach. This is not a drill. Jun stood immediately, his hand going to his pocket where Hannah now knew he kept a weapon. What's happening? Tai asked, looking scared. Before anyone could answer, the cafeteria windows exploded inward. Students screamed and dove under tables. Through the smoke and broken glass came tall figures in dark armor. Their faces were hidden behind masks, but their movements were smooth and deadly. "Vordax," Jum whispered, pulling Hana behind him. One of the Vordax soldiers stepped forward and removed his helmet. His skin was pale gray, his eyes solid black. A scar ran from his forehead to his chin. "I am Commander Krav," he announced in a cold voice. "We seek one person. Give us the human girl called Hana Kim, and the rest will be spared." The other students turned to look at Hana. Doka pointed at her. "She's right there. Take her and leave us alone." Jun pulled out his weapon, a small silver gun. "Get behind me," he told Hana. "We have been searching for you for a very long time," Commander Krav said, staring at Hana. "The last of G's bloodline. The key to our revenge." "Run," Jun said to Hana. "Get to Dr. Suk. I'll hold them off." Hana hesitated. Running felt wrong. A part of her, the Commander G part, wanted to stand and fight. More Vordax soldiers poured through the windows. Jun fired his weapon, hitting one in the chest. The soldier fell, but others kept coming. "Tai, come with me," Hana said, grabbing her friend's arm. They ran toward the door, but two Vordax soldiers blocked their way. Suddenly, Hana knew what to do. Without thinking, she dropped to the floor, sweeping her leg in a perfect move that knocked both soldiers off their feet. "How did you do that?" Ta gasped. "No time," Hana said. "We need to reach the medical bay. Dr. Suk can help us." As they ran through the halls, they heard fighting behind them. Jun was buying them time, but he couldn't hold off all the Vordax alone. They reached the medical bay to find Dr. Suk already activating hidden panels in the walls. Guns, shields, and other weapons slid out. "They're here sooner than we expected," Dr. Suk said. "General Park is sending help, but it will take time." "We can't just hide," Hana said. "My classmates are in danger." "Your safety is the priority," Dr. Suk insisted. "If the Vordax get you, they win." Hana shook her head. That's not what Commander G would do. Before Dr. Suk could stop her, Hana grabbed a small shield and a gun. "I don't know how to use these," she admitted. "But she does." She tapped her head. "Hana." "No," Ta cried. "You'll be killed." "Stay here," Hana told him. "I'll be back." She ran back toward the cafeteria. With each step, more memories flooded her mind. Battle strategies, fighting techniques, the feel of weapons in her hands. When she reached the cafeteria, she saw Jun surrounded by Vordax soldiers. Doka, Lumi, and other students were huddled in a corner, terrified. Commander Krav held Jun by the throat. "Where is she?" "Right here," Hana said, stepping into the room. All eyes turned to her. She stood straight, the gun steady in her hand, just as she had stood on the bridge of her command ship 50 years ago. "Let him go," she ordered. "It's me you want." At last, Krav said with a cold smile, "The mighty Commander G, reborn as a schoolgirl." "If you know who I am," Hana said, feeling G's confidence flowing through her, "then you know what I'm capable of." Commander Krav laughed, a cold sound that echoed through the cafeteria. "You are not Commander G yet," he said. "Just a girl with fragments of memories." "Let Jun go," Hana repeated, her gun still pointed at Krav. "Put down your weapon, or I kill your friend." Krav pressed his blade against Jun's throat. Hana hesitated, but slowly lowered her gun. As soon as she did, two Vordax soldiers grabbed her arms. "Bring her," Krav ordered. He turned to his soldiers. "Take this one too." He pushed Jun toward another soldier. "Kill the rest." "No," Hana shouted, struggling against her captors. But before the soldiers could carry out the order, the ceiling exploded. Through the hole dropped a dozen soldiers in Earth military uniforms, led by General Park himself. "Attack," the general shouted. Chaos erupted. In the confusion, Hana broke free from her captors. She ran to Jun, who had also escaped his guard. "Get the students out," she told him. "What about you?" Jun asked. "I'll help General Park," Hana said, surprising herself with her confidence. As Earth soldiers fought the Vordax, Hannah turned to the huddled students. "Follow June. He'll get you to safety." Doka stared at her in shock. "Why are you helping us? We were terrible to you." "That doesn't matter now," Hannah said. "Go." June started leading the students toward the exit. But as they moved, Commander Crab grabbed Ty, putting a knife to his throat. "Stop, or the boy dies," Crab shouted. Everyone froze. General Park signaled his soldiers to hold fire. "Let him go," Hannah said. "It's me you want." "Yes," Crab agreed. "You for the boy." "Don't do it, Hannah," Ta cried. But Hannah was already walking toward Crab. As she got closer, strange energy flowed through her. More memories surfaced, not just battles, but knowledge of Vordax weaknesses, their fighting styles, their pressure points. "Release him first," Hannah demanded. Krav pushed Ty away but grabbed Hannah in the same motion. "I have what I came for," he said to his soldiers. "Retreat." The Vordax began falling back toward their ship, which had landed on the school grounds. They dragged Hannah with them. "No," General Park shouted. "All forces, stop them." The soldiers fired, but the Vordax had shields. They continued their retreat, Hannah struggling between two large soldiers. As they neared their ship, one of the Vordax suddenly fell, hit by a rock. Then another dropped, struck in the head. Hannah looked back to see Doka, Lumi, and other students throwing anything they could find. "Leave her alone," Doka shouted, his scales dark with anger. "She saved us," Lumi added, her light flashing brightly. The students' attack distracted the Vordax just enough. Hannah broke free and ran, but instead of running to safety, she ran toward General Park. "The activation chamber," she said urgently. "It's time." General Park's eyes widened. "Are you sure?" "I can't fight them as just Hannah," she said. "We need Commander Jia." "Now." General Park nodded and spoke into his communicator. "Prepare the chamber. Code Rebirth is a go." Deep beneath the school, Hannah lay in a glowing blue chamber. Dr. Sook stood at the controls, with General Park and Jun nearby. "This will fully restore Commander Ji's memories and combat training," Dr. Sook explained. "But Hannah, it might change who you are." "Will I still be me?" Hannah asked. "You'll be both," Dr. Sook said. "Ji's experience and Hannah's heart. But the process cannot be reversed." Hannah thought of Tai, still held by the Vordax. She thought of her classmates who had finally stood up for her. She thought of all the people counting on her. "Do it," she said. Dr. Sook activated the chamber. Blue light surrounded Hannah, seeping into her skin. Pain shot through her head as 50 years of memories crashed in all at once. Battles fought, friends lost, victories won. The weight of command, the loneliness of leadership. When the light faded, she sat up slowly. Her body was still 16-year-old Hannah's, but her eyes held the wisdom and determination of Commander Ji. "How do you feel?" General Park asked cautiously. She stood, her posture now perfectly straight, her movements precise and controlled. "I remember everything," she said, her voice calm and commanding. "And I know exactly how to defeat the Vordax." Hannah stood before General Park's small team of soldiers in the bunker's command center. Though she looked like a 16-year-old girl, she spoke with the authority of a seasoned commander. "The Vordax ship has Ta and will leave Earth's atmosphere in 30 minutes, she said, pointing to a map display. "We have one chance to rescue him and end this threat." "How?" June asked. "They outnumber us." "Numbers don't win battles," Hannah replied with a small smile. "I defeated their entire empire with less." She outlined her plan quickly, assigning roles to each person. Dr. Sook would stay at the base to coordinate. General Park and half the soldiers would create a diversion at the front of the ship. June, Hannah, and the rest would enter through a maintenance hatch that existed on all Vordax vessels. "There's one more thing," Hannah said. "I need volunteers from the students." "The students?" General Park looked shocked. They're civilians. They're witnesses now, Hannah said, and some have abilities we can use. To everyone's surprise, Doka and Lumi stepped forward from where they had been watching. We'll help, Doka said. I can read their minds, sense their positions, and I can create light bright enough to blind them temporarily, Lumi added. Hannah nodded. Perfect. Let's move. Outside the Vordax ship, General Park's team engaged the enemy forces with flashing lights and loud explosions. While the Vordax were distracted, Hannah led her small team to the back of the ship. Using Commander G's knowledge, she quickly found the hidden maintenance hatch. Doka, she whispered, can you sense Ta? Doka closed his eyes, his scales shifting color as he focused his telepathic powers. Upper level. 2 guards with him. June, take 2 soldiers and find the engine room, Hannah ordered. Plant the charges exactly as I showed you. Inside the ship, they moved silently through dark corridors. When they encountered Vordax soldiers, Lumi would flash brilliantly, blinding them, while Hannah took them down with precise strikes to pressure points she remembered from G's combat training. They reached the upper level and found the room where Todd was held. 2 guards stood outside. Get ready, Hannah whispered to Doka and Lumi. Lumi floated into view, glowing so brightly the guards covered their eyes. Doka used his telepathy to plant confusion in their minds. Hannah moved between them, striking each with perfect precision. They dropped without a sound. Inside the room, they found Tai tied to a chair. His eyes widened when he saw them. Hannah, you came for me. Of course, she said, untying him. I would never leave you behind. As they turned to leave, Commander Crab appeared in the doorway, weapon raised. I underestimated you, he said to Hannah. A mistake my ancestors made with G as well. History repeats itself, Hannah replied calmly. Crab fired his weapon, but Hannah moved with impossible speed, dodging the blast. She closed the distance between them in seconds, striking with the perfect technique of Commander G, but the fierce determination of Hannah Kim. Crab fell to his knees, his weapon clattering to the floor. Finish it, he growled. Like G finished my grandfather. Hannah looked down at him. For a moment, Commander G's memories urged her to strike the final blow, to eliminate the threat forever. But Hannah's heart pulled back. No, she said, this ends now, but not with more death. Your people and mine will find peace. She turned to her friends. Let's go. June should have the charges set by now. They left Crab there, rushing back through the ship to the exit point. As they escaped, June activated the charges, not to destroy the ship, but to disable its weapons and engines. Earth forces surrounded the crippled ship. The remaining Vordax surrendered. 3 months later, Hannah walked through the halls of New Soul Academy. Students nodded respectfully as she passed. Some even smiled. In the cafeteria, she sat at a table with Todd, June, Doka, and Lumi. Once enemies, now friends united by their shared experience. Still strange, Ta asked as he noticed Hannah looking around the room. Sometimes, she admitted, being both people, the commander who fought wars and the girl who just wants to pass her exams. You're better as both, Lumi said, her light pulsing gently. G's strength and Hannah's kindness. After school, Hannah taught a special class, tactical training for interested students. Earth's government had asked her to prepare the next generation, not for war, but to maintain peace. Later, she visited the Galactic Memorial alone. The secret room with G's statue was now open to the public. A new plaque had been added beneath it. Commander G and Hannah Kim, 2 lives, 1 extraordinary spirit. A warrior who saved us from tyranny and a girl who showed us the power of forgiveness. Hannah smiled at the statue of her former self. The girl who had been ridiculed for being human had found her strength in that very humanity, and the commander who had won wars now fought for something more important, a future where such wars would never be needed again.